Have you ever met someone who seemed incredibly kind, humble, and emotionally fragile? Yet, after spending time with them, you found yourself feeling confused, emotionally exhausted, and constantly questioning your own judgment. At first, everything feels effortless. They appear caring, thoughtful, and deeply misunderstood. They make you believe you have met someone who simply needs the right person to appreciate them. But as weeks turn into months, something begins to change. You start apologizing for things you never did. You begin doubting your own memory. You feel responsible for fixing problems you didn't create. Without realizing it, your confidence slowly fades while their influence over your emotions quietly grows. This is often how a covert narcissist operates. Unlike the stereotypical narcissist who demands attention and openly seeks admiration, the covert narcissist hides behind vulnerability. Their greatest weapon isn't arrogance, it is sympathy. They don't overpower you with force, they influence you through guilt, emotional confusion, and carefully crafted victimhood. One of the biggest reasons covert narcissists are difficult to identify is because they rarely look dangerous. In fact, they often appear unusually kind. They speak softly, present themselves as humble, and tell stories that make you feel sorry for them. They don't ask you to rescue them directly. Instead, they create situations where you naturally want to help. Your empathy becomes the doorway through which they gain influence. Think about it. Healthy people share their struggle because they trust you. They don't expect you to solve every problem. They appreciate support, but they also take responsibility for their own healing. A manipulative person, on the other hand, often uses emotional pain to create obligation. Before long, you begin feeling responsible for their happiness, their emotional stability, and even their self-worth. The relationship slowly shifts from partnership to emotional caretaking. One of the earliest warning signs is false vulnerability. During the initial stages, they may tell you detailed stories about toxic ex-partners, abusive family members, disloyal friends, or unfair employees. Again, some of these stories may be completely true. The issue isn't whether they have experienced hardship. The issue is whether every conversation eventually becomes another reminder of why you owe them endless patience. Pay attention to how they respond when you express your own struggles. Does the conversation remain balanced, or does it immediately return to their pain? Healthy relationships create space for both people. Manipulative relationships revolve around one person's emotions while the other's needs slowly disappear. Another tactic is subtle gaslighting. Most people imagine gaslighting as someone completely denying obvious reality. But in real life, it is much quieter than that. It often starts with small phrases like, "You are overthinking," "You are too sensitive," "That is not what I meant," or "You are remembering it wrong." One comment doesn't seem important, neither does the second. But after hearing these messages repeatedly, you begin doubting your own instincts. This is why gaslighting is so effective. It doesn't attack your confidence all at once. It erodes it slowly. Eventually, you stop trusting your own judgment and begin relying on theirs. Once that happens, manipulation becomes much easier because you have surrendered your confidence without even realizing it. Another major red flag is the perpetual victim mindset. Listen carefully when someone talks about their past. Are all of their former relationships disasters? Was every friend toxic? Was every employer unfair? Did every family member fail them? While anyone can have several unhealthy relationships, it is extremely rare for one person to have absolutely no responsibility in every conflict they have ever experienced. Personal growth requires accountability. Emotionally mature people can acknowledge their mistakes, learn from them, and move forward. Manipulative individuals often rewrite history so they remain permanently innocent, while everyone else becomes the villain. Today, you are the person who finally understands them. Tomorrow, if you challenge them, you will become another chapter in that same story. One of the most revealing moments in any relationship comes when you establish a boundary. Healthy people may not always like hearing no, but they respect it. Manipulative people often treat boundaries as obstacles that need to be removed. They may respond with guilt, emotional withdrawal, passive aggressive comments, or silent treatment. Instead of respecting your decision, they make you feel guilty for having won. Notice how much emotional energy you spend explaining simple decisions. If saying no requires a 30-minute conversation every single time, that is not communication, that is conditioning. Over time, you may find yourself avoiding boundaries altogether simply because you are tired of dealing with the emotional consequences. Another common strategy is mirroring. During the early stages, everything feels almost too perfect. They seem to love the same books, the same music, the same values, the same future goals. It feels like you have finally found someone who completely understands you. While genuine compatibility certainly exists, authentic relationships develop naturally over time. Instant perfection deserves careful observation. Instead of focusing on what someone says, focus on what they consistently do. Words are easy. Character is revealed through repeated actions. Someone who truly shares your value doesn't need to constantly tell you, they simply live them. As emotional investment increases, the relationship often enters a new phase. Compliments slowly become criticism. Affection becomes inconsistent. You hear small comments disguised as jokes that slowly chip away at your confidence. Maybe they compare you to someone else. Maybe they compliment you while adding a subtle insult. Each individual comment seems insignificant, but together they create uncertainty. Once confidence decreases, emotional dependency often increases. Some covert narcissists also introduce triangulation. They mention someone else who supposedly understands them better. They casually bring up an ex, a coworker, or another admirer, creating an invisible competition for their attention. The goal isn't honesty, the goal is insecurity. A confident man doesn't compete for someone's affection. He evaluates behavior. If someone consistently manufactures jealousy, he is willing to walk away. Here is one of the simplest relationship audits you can perform. Ask yourself this question after spending time together. How do I feel? Not how attractive they are. Not how exciting the relationship feels. Simply ask yourself how you feel afterward. Do you leave feeling inspired, respected, peaceful, and motivated? Or do you leave feeling anxious, emotionally drained, mentally exhausted, and unsure of yourself? Your nervous system notices unhealthy dynamics long before your logical mind does. If every interaction leaves you emotionally depleted, don't ignore that signal. Your peace matters. If you begin recognizing these patterns, understand that you don't need to win every argument or expose every manipulator. Sometimes the strongest response is simply creating distance. One useful strategy often recommended by psychologists is the gray rock method. Instead of reacting emotionally, arguing endlessly, or feeding unnecessary drama, you become calm, neutral, and emotionally uninteresting. Manipulative people often seek emotional reactions because reactions give them influence. When you stop providing that fuel, much of their control disappears. Above all, adopt a zero tolerance policy toward repeated gaslighting, emotional manipulation, and disrespect for your boundaries. Everyone deserves grace. Everyone makes mistakes, but repeated patterns tell you far more than repeated apologies. At the end of the day, this isn't really about covert narcissist. It is about you. The strongest protection against manipulation isn't becoming suspicious of everyone. It is becoming emotionally grounded. When your confidence comes from your purpose instead of someone else's approval, manipulation becomes much less effective. When your standards are clear, unhealthy relationships reveal themselves quickly. When your identity is built on discipline, integrity, and self respect, you stop chasing validation and start choosing peace. High value men don't build their lives around fixing broken people. They build lives centered on purpose, growth, meaningful relationships, and emotional maturity. They understand that love without respect becomes control. Empathy without boundaries becomes exploitation. And compassion without discernment becomes self sacrifice. So remember this: protect your peace, protect your reality, protect your purpose. Your time and emotional energy are among the most valuable resources you possess. Invest them in people who bring honesty, accountability, and mutual respect into your life, not endless confusion and manufactured drama. If this video helped you see relationships from a new perspective, subscribe to EvoLeveX for more content on masculine psychology, emotional intelligence, discipline, leadership, and elite personal growth. Like this video, share it with another man who deserves to hear this message. And comment below, my frame comes first. I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments, because your story may help another man recognize the warning signs before it is too late. Until next time, remember our mission: evolve, elevate, excel.